Hi, this is Aaliyah, author of Prep Ahead Meals from Scratch. Right now I'm batch cooking some ground beef and I'm going to be using a little bit in spaghetti sauce this week because my husband's going to be working late and one of my kids' favorite meals is still spaghetti after all the recipes I've created. But one thing I've discovered is that they love spaghetti squash and it's healthier than regular pasta. It's naturally gluten-free. I have two kids that have to avoid gluten. And it actually keeps better in the refrigerator. Any of the unused spaghetti squash keeps better in the refrigerator than regular pasta. So it's perfect to use in leftovers later in the week. Now I'm going to attempt to cut this and show you how I cut this. This could be an epic disaster, and if it is, I will cut this from the video and you will never know. But this is how I cut a spaghetti squash. I start by cutting the stem off at the end. And you can just get it in there and then cut that end off just like that. It is still difficult. And then I put the squash on end. First I'm going to kind of stab and I'm going to go around the button. You see the button right here? I do not like to cut through the button. It's just a little bit tougher and I'm not too concerned if my squash is slightly off, isn't perfectly flat and even. Okay, so once I've put it in, I put the knife, I made two little sharp sticks through the thickest part of the meat at the end, and then I just go back and forth with my knife as much as I can. There, I'm not having as much room to work at that end. You want to be careful that you keep your hands on top of the blade. Don't let them go beneath the blade. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scrape out the seeds, and I use this weird little spoon because it's a little bit serrated and it works better than just a smooth spoon. I just dropped a seed on the ground, but this, this is completely smooth and it doesn't get any traction. I have this weird edge spoon and I use that whenever I'm scraping the inside of things. If you have any of the serrated spoons left over from cleaning out jack-o'-lanterns, those work really well. The other thing that works really well is a grapefruit spoon. So if you have something with some kind of just a little bit of a serrated edge or a bumpy edge, it will grab the seeds a lot easier. You can see it's a lot easier to do it this way. Okay, as soon as these are done, I'm going to show you my next step. All right, I've cleaned out both of my squash, most of the seeds from inside them, and I really encourage you to save these seeds. You can roast them just like you can pumpkin seeds or acorn squash seeds. It's really easy and it's a nice healthy snack, and you can use them in place of croutons on salad. Once the squash is cleaned out, I just brush the inside with a little bit of olive oil. You might be tempted to just spray this pan with some baking spray, but I really discourage you from doing this. I think the olive oil just gives it a little something something, and if you cannot have olive oil, then I would encourage you to use another flavorful oil that you are able to eat. Once these are brushed with olive oil, I put them in the oven and I bake them at 400 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. And then once they're done, I'll just be able to scrape them out. You'll know they're done because you'll be able to, they'll be fork tender. You'll be able to push them with a fork and the fork will easily be inserted on this outer shell that's now hard. All right, I have just pulled the spaghetti squash out of the oven. You can just, once you can put a fork in pretty easily, then you can pull it out. You don't have to wait till it's super soft. A lot of people tend to do that, but you don't have to overcook it. Now, if your squash gets a little bit brown on the bottom, don't worry about that. It tends to happen if you have your heating element on the bottom of your stove. This was cooked in the middle and I still got a little bit of brown around the edges, but it's not going to affect the flavor. Once you have pulled it out, flip it over and you can just use your fork, and very quickly this squash will start breaking up into pasta. Look at that. It is so delicious. You're going to find that this is a wonderful substitute for pasta in recipes, and it does really well in the refrigerator. In fact, some weekends I will cook 2 or 3 and then I will store the excess in the refrigerator to use in recipes and in salads throughout the week. You can find a link below this video for the complete directions for making spaghetti squash in the oven. And keep coming back to this YouTube channel where I will be sharing cooking tips and batch cooking techniques to make your life easier.